And unfortunately, I am not available to be by personally to Venice to give my talk. But I hope that today we can share some interesting topic of this wonderful skiware. And okay, next slide. Next. So before we go into the topic, so somebody will ask, what is Yixing? Actually, Yixing is a small town near Shanghai, about 3 hours by taxi to the west of Shanghai. And this little town is very famous for making special teaware called Yixing, called purple sand ware or zhisha ware. But because this place is so famous, sometimes you will see they call this kind of teapot is a Yixing teapot. Okay, next. Next. Okay, and then somebody will ask what is zhisha or what is the purple sand. And zhisha is a Mandarin pronunciation of the character purple in clay. So it's very interesting. But the character purple, it doesn't mean the purple color today. Actually, in the old day, purple means a brown color. So sometime in the literature of China, we have description about the color of the face of somebody, the color of the skin of somebody. We say this is a purple color. That means this is brown in color. And another character, sand. This is very different from clay because this kind of material to making the body of teapot is not clay at all. Actually, it stays like a stone in nature. And then when you powder it, it becomes sandy. And so this is a very particular material in Qing. And up to this moment, we do not find a similar clay in the other part of the world. Next. Basically, when we mention about purple or brown, it is not too exact. And because the color comes from the content of the iron oxide inside the clay, so with different level or different concentration of the iron oxide, you may have 3 kinds of color, from the beige color to red color, reddish brown color, and brown color. So you can see on the slide, there is 3 color here. Next. As I mentioned, it is not a clay at all. So the modeling method of the zhisha ware is very different from common pottery. It is not thrown on a turning wheel. And on the other hand, and you have to beat the clay. You have to beat the clay in a sheet of clay, and then you will cut it with different instruments to make the exact size what you want to do. And after this PowerPoint, we will have a little video so you can see it clearly. Next. This is another slide showing some instrument or some tools of making the Yixing teapot. On the left hand side, you can see a hammer, something like a hammer. It is used to beat the clay into a piece of glass. And then the second one is the one which you want to shake the teapot by beating it slightly. Okay, next. And this is how the teapot is made. So you have to cut the different size of the slab and build it up. Next. And then you have and something like a drum is made for the body of the teapot. And on the right hand side, it is the rim of the lid. Next. This is the handle and the spout. Next, this is how the teapot is made. This is on the left-hand side. This is showing the knob and lid of the teapot, and the right-hand side is the teapot. And then you can notice there is a piece of wood, oval shape, in the round shape. This is how they turn the teapot on this little piece of wood. The underneath of the wood is like half moon, so it will turn as on the table. Okay, next. And after you have studied in the Tang dynasty from James and Marco, now we jump into the Ming dynasty. Before that, you know, they boil the tea in a pot in the Tang dynasty, and then in Song dynasty, they make the tea in the powder and whisk in the bowl. But in the Ming dynasty, there's a big change in the methodology of making a tea. The tea is no more made in powder, or rather, we make it into the leaf, and then we steep the tea leaf and make an infusion to drink. So the record is that it started from the first emperor of the Ming dynasty, whose name is Zhu Yuanzhang, and he became an emperor from a very common citizen. And in the record, he had to slaughter the pig. And also, he also worked in a Taoist temple. So he has come from the very common class of the society. So the story said he had sympathy for the tea farmers because they have to pay too much work to prepare the tea cake for the tribute to the king. So at that time he said, okay, there's too much work, we don't need that. So to make it in loose leaf. So, and then the loose leaf, the way to make the loose leaf is to steep it in a utensil. And so it makes the background for the bird or teapot. Next. So we come to the history of Jisha ware development. In many writings or some reports from China, they always mention the Jisha ware started in the Song dynasty. It comes from a sentence. Next. Okay, it comes from a sentence from the Song dynasty poem. I mentioned they discovered the new wares of purple color to make tea. But actually, the poem, the purple ware or the brown ware mentioned in that poem, it is the bowl, the tea bowl from the Fujian. We the hairy fur bowls, but not the Jisha. Because we know in the Song dynasty, we don't have the background to steep the tea. We use the tea powder to whisk the powder with some water in a bowl. So that bowl doesn't mean anything to the birth of the Jisha ware. So I think the beginning of Jisha ware should be in the Wanli period in the 16th century. Next. One of the evidence is from a poem from an artist, he's a great painter called Xu Wei. He died in 1593. So he had a poem about Jisha. Next. Oh, this is the calligraphy of Xu Wei. And this calligraphy is about how he enjoyed the tea and some quality of the tea people or some atmosphere or feelings of enjoying tea. This is his painting. This is a very famous ink painting in Beijing Museum. Next. So in this sentence, he mentioned in the early April, and he go to buy the new innovation teaware called purple sand. Next. So you can see also other paintings in the Ming dynasty, and then the teapot appear the painting. This is a painting from Ming of the 16th century. Next. This is the painting. I'm sorry, this painting is from Qing of 16th century. Next. You can see another teapot here. Next. So the first artist recorded in the literature is a potter called Gong Chun. And the legend said he was the servant of a scholar Wu Yi-dan. And when the scholar studied in the Golden Sand Temple, the Gong Chun is servant and served him studio. In his leisure time, he makes some kind of teapot by ordering with hand. So this is the teapot attributed to him. Actually, this teapot is created in the late Qing dynasty. So this story is only a story. Next. This one is with the earliest teapot with date. It comes from a tomb of the general in the Ming dynasty in Jiajing period. That means in early 16th century. And you can see this is a very primitive teapot. And this slide cannot show you the inside structure of the teapot. Actually, we don't have the rim in the lid, the teapot. It only have two crossed bar to fix them in the inside the teapot. So this is a very, very primitive method of making the jisha. And actually, this man, Wu Jing, the owner of the tomb, is a very, very important official in the palace. He served the emperor. So by his rank, this should be the top class Yixing teapot at that time. So we can see how primitive it is. Next. This is another piece, and you can see this is a monk cap teapot. You can see the very primitive making. Next. And then the next stage is from Wanli to Kangxi. And Kangxi is in 18th century. So we can see some important changes of the development of the Yixing teapot. Next. This is a scholar, his name is Chen Ji-ru. And because Yixing teapot is very closely related to the scholar's aesthetic, one of the document mentioned Chen Ji-ru and Dong Ji-chang. These kind of scholars came very close to the Yixing potters, and they suggest the potter how to make the teapot to fit for their scholar life. So that's why Yixing teapot can be started in the Song dynasty, and it is very closely related to the scholar circle in the Ming dynasty, because in the Ming dynasty, the official school has a new development. They like to start to study the objects of nature and try to investigate the property of the things they find. And then through this investigation, they try to figure out the metaphysical principle. They call Li, they call something like Dao, or something like, how to translate, yeah? And actually, this is the core part of the philosophy of the Confucius school. And they try to find out the metaphysical background, the metaphysical principle of all kinds of objects of the world, all kinds of matters in the world. So at that time, the scholar loved to go back to nature and try to study and everything in a very deep sense, and try to investigate the reasons behind the objects. So Yixing is very closely related to this kind of scholars. And also because in the late Ming dynasty, the politics scene in the palace is very typical. There's a lot of fighting. So most of the scholars did not want to attend their service in the palace, in the civil service. They rather to live in a private way and staying in their home to enjoy all kinds of scholar life, like tea, like wine, like potting flowers, and like incense, something like that. Or even they want to raise the cranes in their home, and they like to raise different kinds of flowers at their home and something like that. So in the Ming dynasty, there's a great development of the art of life. Next. This is a work from Chen Jiyu. He is also a calligrapher. Next. So at this time, you can see the development of the Yixing teapot, and it is in a much better skill. And inside the lid, you have the rim, and nearly exactly what we have today. And also you can see the size become smaller because it was written in some literature. The scholars suggest everybody have one teapot to drink tea, to enjoy tea by himself. So you can drink tea at your own speed. So you can pour out the tea at your own will. So the teapot becomes smaller. For example, like this teapot is made by Shi Da Bin, the most important potter, or the most classical potter of the history. And the volume of this teapot is about 500 cc. Actually, it is quite large for today. Next. This is another teapot from a tomb from Fujian, also made by Shi Da Bin. So you can see that time you already have the hexagonal shape and also the round shape of teapot. Next. This is another one of his work. And this is a very interesting design because you have some support on the lid. You can overturn the lid and put it on the table, and it will not roll away. Next. This is another teapot from Shi Da Bin. Because she is the most famous potter at that time, so the local government sent this teapot as a tribute to the emperor in Beijing. But the emperor is not a scholar. He did not like this kind of very simple, very natural appeal of the teapot. So he sent it to the lacquer workshop to make it and cover it with lacquer and then carve it. So it was stored in Beijing Palace Museum in the lacquerware section, and nobody noticed it is Yixing until in 1990s and the flourishing of the Yixing teapot, and then they discovered this teapot and put it under the X-ray. They find it is a work of Xi Dabin. It's very interesting. Next. And this piece in the Nanjing Museum attributed to Xi Dabin, but I think this is a later replica. But you can see, and the round overhead handle is so beautifully made, and it is a good piece. Next. After the fall of the Ming dynasty, and we have a short time of the section of the Yixing teapot making. And then in the Kangxi dynasty, there is another important potter called Chen Mingyuan and appeared. This potter was very famous for his imitation technique of the natural objects. So you can find this teapot requires a very high standard of technique, and it is a replica, or it comes the inspiration from the pumpkin. And then you can see all the details are so finely depicted. And one of the important features of Yixing teapot, as I mentioned, it is not thrown on the turning wheel like other pots, and it is beat by a pedal and carved and shaped by hand. So it is really like making a piece of sculpture. So the Yixing teapot is very, very good to imitate the natural objects. And Chen Mingyuan is one of the masters in this style. Next. This is another cup in Nanjing Museum. And the potter is unknown. Only the name is Shen Xi is noted. And it is just a cup made with an image of the peach tree or branch of peach. You can see the peach flowers and the small fruit of peach and some leaf of the peach. The bottom is made by a contemporary potter. The original one is without the plate. This is a very beautiful piece. Next. Also, the potter used some natural objects to resemble them to make it into a teapot. This is a bundle of bamboos. So you can see, and the lid is very cleverly made within the sticks of bamboo. And it seems like very natural, and you can't find the lid at all. And also the handle is use the branches of bamboo to make a very natural way as a handle. Next one. Then it becomes the prosperous stage in the Qiang period. One of the biggest feature at this period is he is very popular over the world. And because the European ships came to China to buy silk, to buy porcelain, and buy tea also. So at that time, there's a great demand of the tea wares. And also, Qiang is a very prosperous stage, a prosperous time in the Qing dynasty. So there is a great demand for the teapots. Next. This is the portrait of Qing Emperor. He died in 1799. Next. So this is one of the pieces as a tribute to the emperor. And the potter is unknown because at that time, the power of the central government is very strong. The common name of the potter is not cannot be written on the teapot itself, but this is a very great piece. Somebody may mention this is a follower of Chen Mingyuan, and you can see they have very elegant, very elaborate leaf on the teapot. Have the picture and the calligraphy. So this is for the taste of the palace, for the taste of the emperor. Next. This is another piece as a tea candlestick. Next. Also, this one should be a piece as a tribute to the palace. The whole body is decorated with relief of a pattern. This is a very popular decoration at that time. Next. This is another kind of decoration. We use two different kinds of color clay to make up the teapot. And as I just mentioned, there are three basic colors. This is the yellow color and the brown color. The yellow color contains only 3% of ferric oxide, while the deep brown color contains about 6 to 7% of ferrous oxide. This is a very round, very muscular teapot, typical in the Qing dynasty. Next. And also at that time, enamel is imported to China. So at that period, people like decoration. They don't like the plain teapot as the classical stage. So it is decorated with the permanent work and with bird and flowers on the body. Next. Also, they use some kind of different color clay to write the calligraphy on the teapot. Next. They also have some glaze to put on the teapot. This glaze is called Lujun glaze, and very popular in very short period of Chen. Next. This is another one with painting also. Next. At that time, and as the European people shipped the tea to Europe, and they also want some teaware. So the European interest or European aesthetic became popular on teapot also. So you can see this teapot is decorated with different pattern. This is an export ware to Europe. Next. This is another example with relief decoration. And also this is a very, very popular object in some Flemish painting in Netherlands. And you can see some still life. They in some flower pots, and then you have teacups and the teapots in some still life paintings in Holland. Next. And also in Europe, it was quite a treasure. So a lot of gold decoration is made on the teapot. For example, like this one, the knob is replaced by some gold statue. And also the spout and the handle, you have some kind of protection device made in Europe. Next. And then by the end of the Qing period, one of the great issues at that time is that China banned all kind of foreign trade. And so the communication between Europe and China suddenly have a recession. So also the economy of China has a sharp decline at that time. So the Yixing teapot started to transform into another taste, another aesthetic. So this time is from Jiajing to Daoguang period. That means from 1799 to mid of 19th century. Next. The scholar taste come back. So you can see the very floral, very elaborate decoration disappear. Instead, the scholar tradition came back. One of the important scholar in this stage is Chen Hongshou. He himself is a silk carver and a calligrapher. And accidentally, he became one of the civil servants near Yixing. So he was very interested in this kind of teapot. So he commissioned a potter to make some clay body for him. And then he carved directly by himself onto the body and then bring back to Yixing to fire. So at that time, it became a fashion that scholar become active again to create a new kind of aesthetic or new kind of style. Next. So you can see, and this decoration comes from Han Dynasty tile, because at that time, and people are very interested in archaeological finds. So this is one of the break from the Han Dynasty. He used the motif to decorate the teapot. And then you can see the shape of the teapot become more simple and more straight lines and less decoration. Next. It's the same idea. And you can see they have a big plain surface for the scholars or for the painters to try their hand on the surface. So at that time, calligraphy and painting is very popular as a kind of position on the body. Next. And also, they use some natural decoration rather than to put the color glaze on the teapot. They use different texture, and this one he fired the yellow clay first and motor it into powder, and then mix the new clay and make a natural decoration like the sandpaper is embedded on the brown body. Also, you can note the style of the teapot, the form of the teapot is very simple and very big plane. You have a big plane, and the people will carve on the surface. Next, this shows you how the teapot is decorated with calligraphy. Next, this is another example from Chen Hongshou, and because his Pao of the other name is Mansang, so Mansang teapot is a very popular or very important in the history of development of the Qing teapot. Next, this is another example, and at that time, we have some new development is the Yixing teapot is encased with pewter. Because pewter is quite soft, so the scholar also like to carve on the pewter surface. Maybe this is one of the reasons this kind of teapot is popular, because you can make the whole ware and finish the whole piece, and then you can send to the scholar to carve on the surface, because pewter is quite soft, and they can use the knife to carve steel, the same kind of knife to carve on this teapot. Next. This is another example. But the pewter is very hot. Usually they will have the wood handle or J handle to for easier using. And this is a very famous teapot, famous potter by the end of Qing dynasty. It is one of the most famous teapot potter called Xiao Da Han. This is a very complicated work, and this piece is in Nanjing Museum. Shows a bundle of bamboo, but you can see at that time it is not in the natural form, but it used the bamboo sticks as a kind of design pattern only. Next. And then suddenly it comes to the declining stage because China was defeated by many foreign powers and the economy goes down quickly. And at that time, there is a rebellion from Taiping, Tianguo, a group of people try to overthrow the Qing government. So at that time, a lot of battles and fighting in this area because this Taiping kingdom is situated near Yixing in Nanjing. The capital is in Nanjing. So at that time, a lot of potters was killed. So there is a big recession by the end of the Qing dynasty. Next. So at that time, you don't have very wonderful pieces. We don't have Greek pieces, and sometimes some kind of decoration come back, and we don't have very elegant or elaborate painting like the Qianlong dynasty, or neither we don't have the very simple but very elegant design from the scholar. So this is all commonwear by the end of the Qing dynasty. Next. This is something from the scholar taste, but the whole piece is not so well designed, and they lose the balance now. Next. This is a wine warmer. This is not a teapot, and they put wine inside and to make it warm. Next. And also the creation by impression is popular at that time. The last one, the wine warmer already is by some mold, and this one is also by some mold. Next. And this is another piece in chrysanthemum design, and the teapot is in many loops to follow the petals of the chrysanthemum flower. Next. By the end of the Qing dynasty, there is a revival of the economy because at that time, and China was basically separated by different powers, and then they have some foreign orders, especially from Japan. So at that time, they have a lot of business transaction from Shanghai to Japan. Yixing is very near to Shanghai, so it brings a lot of business at that time. Next. And also, at that time in Shanghai, there is a lot of rich people. They are very interested to collect antiques. So at that time, some antique shop make the replicas of old vessels. For example, this teapot, the inspiration came from the bronze thing. You have three legs underneath, and in the shape of a bronze vessel. Next. This is also a replica of the old teapot of the early Qing dynasty. So the pattern design is from a bundle of bamboo, but it is more decorative. Next. This is another piece. So Yixing is a very wonderful material to imitate different kind of objects. This is the imitation of a bronze vessel. You can see the color, the shape, and the pattern is very similar to the original bronze. Next. This is another example. This is a jug, a wine vessel in Zhou dynasty. But this is also made by some potters with the advice or with the design from the antique dealers. So at that time, this kind of vessel is very popular. Next. This is a polished teapot. Also very popular at that time, especially those export to Thailand. It is polished to a very high glossy surface. Next. This is another polished teapot. The color of this clay is very special because it is quite white, very light color of yellow. It comes from a piece of very pure clay in Yixing. It is quite rare. Next. Also, this one is for export to Thailand. You can see the rim and the spout decorated with silver. Okay, it comes from today, the new China. Next. And actually, the Yixing tradition continued for several hundred years and nearly unchanged until the new China has established in 1949. And they introduced in a lot of industrial revolution results. For example, they changed the kiln from the original dragon kiln using wood as the fuel into the tunnel kiln or the electricity kiln in today. So, technically speaking, it becomes the product of modern age. Also, they introduced in the training of the potter in the school and university. Before that, the potters are trained by their master. The young potter work as the apprentices to follow the master. So the style, you have different school, you have different style from different potters. But in the new China, it is a collective unit, a collective organization. All the potters are not allowed to make their own company. They are grouped together in a commune, and then they build some national factory and ask all the potter to stay inside the factory to make the teapots. And then they will train the young potter in a more academic way or more in a formal way. So the potters becomes not obvious belongs to certain style, and they are capable to design some new concept, new teapot. So this piece from a very famous potter Gu Qingzhou, you can see this is more modern design, and they employ a lot of new techniques here. Next. This is called the marble clay teapot, and by mixing two kind of colors clay together to make a marble shape, a marble pattern. And of course, technically it is more modern, but I think it loses some classical aesthetic of the traditional teapot. Next one. This is also a new teapot, and its design is one side is a straight plane, and the other side is round. And then on top, you have some dragon as decoration. So this is the unbalanced design. This is a new innovation in the creation. It combines different old and new elements together. Next. This is another piece by Guizhou. You can notice the very expressive handle with a big space inside and a very small teapot, but a very big handle. The contrast is very bold, very exaggerated. Next. And also the imitation of the natural objects come back. This is by Jiang Rong, and actually it is a small wine cup in the shape of a lotus flower petal. Next. And this is elegant design of teapot. Next. And also they create some new technology and to carve the teapot and then inlay with some silver and gold to make the pattern. So this is a very complicated technique. Next. This is also the same style and inlaid with silver. Next. And this is the inspiration comes from Gongchun teapot, like a knot of the tree, but on the lid, they make some small houses with some realistic sense. This is also a new design to combine some surrealistic imagination. Next. In the 1980s, and they discover the bamboo stick book in the Mawang Dui tomb in the Han Dynasty. So they use this kind of bamboo stick to design the teapot. At that time, this is a very important archaeological find in China. Next.
Start out by
and
blocks of
the following is a short video how the Yixing teapot is made. The potter is a famous Zhou Guizhen. So you can see, first you have to make the clay slabs and then beat it into a flat piece of clay slab with the wood hammer. It takes about 12 minutes. Is the time okay to see the complete one?
This technique allows her to make very even bottoms and tops, very even slabs, using the mallet against that hardwood table. Also compresses the clay quite extensively. Now she's preparing some clay for the walls of the teapot.
She has made the bottom in a round shape, and then she is going to make the body. It's making into a long slab of clay. It is a long training to make the Yixing teapot. They cut it with the bamboo knife. They told me even you learn to beat the clay slab, it takes you a year. Otherwise, you cannot make it very even. She is building up the body. She make another flap for the top.
Here she's making somewhat of a template for the top of the teapot, which, while she's working on the bottom, will actually be the bottom.
You can see she's cutting a round shape slab of the, they call the moon table.
She'll unroll that slab that she made for the side walls of the teapot, and she'll gently place it up against
She's
that
building up the
circle that she cut,
body
and that will act as a template to hold it in
on the bottom.
With those walls against each other, she just cut through both walls at the same time and created a 45-degree angle for that joint to match up.
He cut the slab and use some water to stick it together.
Now she's working that seam.
And then he started pedaling,
with the knife.
making the straight wall into an oval shape.
Here she marks that seam to show where the handle's going to go, which will somewhat hide the seam if it comes back from the fire.
First, he has
Cutting
to
off the excess clay against her paddle, paddling that down.
stick the wall
Now she's paddling the shape inward
carefully,
to start creating
and then start the pedaling.
and
Slowly and
essentially
slowly,
belly area of the body of
the
the
straight
teapot.
the flat slab curved into an oval shape of the body of the teapot.
After she gets it to the diameter she wants it for the
He
bottom,
used some clay
she
as a
mixes
glue.
up some slip with a tapered stick, applies it to the seam,
Must be very careful because you have too much
and
water,
gently lays in
it
the
cannot
bottom
stick
of the
together.
teapot.
If it is too dry, it will drop off. And then he make it like a hollow ball in oval shape. This is the top.
After she has that bottom position corrected, she
So
works that seam by
he
compressing
finished to
inward
make the
with
whole
paddle,
body
smoothing it off with her knife.
like a hollow balloon, oval balloon.
And releasing the
So he
teapot
make
body
another
in the
end
template I talked about earlier.
in a similar way.
She then works on the interior seam
So he has to fix the bottom
and
first,
paddles the top of the teapot.
and then he is making the top of the teapot.
After getting the opening to the diameter she's wanting, she then does the same procedure that she did to the bottom.
They are very well trained, so the diameter is exactly the same as what she planned to do it. He broke it up to keep the shape. She checked
Now the body is finished, she works on
everything
the spouts
is
and handles.
perfect. And then she's going to make the handle by rolling the clay and also the spout from the same piece of clay. So this is a spout. He make it hollow. And then she make the curve.
Arsan, she's explaining 3 different types of spouts, different angles that they would project off the teapot, and she's working on the handles. portion of the spout, working on the pouring end and the end that attaches to the body. Cutting off the end and attaching to the body.
She cut the spout.
She's showing that gallery area on this
And
piece.
fix it to the body.
And a profile rib used to delineate the form between the neck of the lid area and the shoulder of the teapot itself. Here she's using a buffalo horn that's been soaked in water to burnish that transition there. And then she'll use another larger piece of buffalo horn, and it's flexible when it's in the water. It's very smooth, so it burnishes the surface and polishes the surface of that teapot body.
She is using an instrument to make out the line. Oh, that's all. Yeah, this is another video for making the square teapot. Maybe we can skip it. Okay. This is how they make the square teapot.
这个工具也是专门有一个专门的工具啊。
专门竹子。
这个竹子位置刚好是到这个角了。
哎，对。
Maybe we stop it now. It is too long. Maybe we can stop it now. Yeah. Please stop it. Thank you. So that's all. Thank you. Thank you very much.